Hi, it's Josh, and today we're going to do a revisit on the Wolfbox rear view mirror camera. And I thought it would be a good idea to make a revisit to this video for a couple of reasons. One, I've got a firmware update for the version that I have, the G900, but there's also a newer version that's come out on the market, the G900 Pro. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about the differences, because when the Grenadier first came out, people were putting in the G840. And then the 900 came out, and now the 900 Pro came out. Also, I learned that my video had been used in an installation video from another YouTuber without my knowledge or permission. And a couple of viewers got the impression that that was the person that installed my Wolfbox, and it was not. And he did a couple things in his installation video that I don't completely agree with. And one of them was the placement of the GPS module. I guess he placed the GPS module up here under the roof, and my GPS module is installed on the dashboard facing the open sky. So please know that if you see me in a video that's not mine, it's not with my permission, and I can't endorse or condone any of the information that is given. And so just beware, buyer beware. The version I have, the G900, is good, but it's got a couple little quirks. One, it's supposed to have a looping video so that when the SD card fills up, it re-records over the existing video. Just kind of steps on the oldest and keeps things moving. Mine seems to tell me that I need to reformat the SD card. And every so often, it will just tell me the card's full and I need to reformat it. I'm hoping that the firmware update I'm about to install will take care of that, and I won't know that immediately. But the G900 Pro is basically a super version of the G900. And so if you're still considering putting a Wolfbox in, it's reasonable to consider either the G900 or the G900 Pro, whichever is the better deal. The features of the G900 Pro are that it adds Wi-Fi capability so that you can actually connect to the camera using Wi-Fi from your phone or tablet and download video instead of having to take the chip out of the mirror and put it into a computer. So I guess that's a little handy. I'm not sure the practicality of it. I do find that the chip is right up here in the top of the mirror, and it's not really easily accessible, because you can actually take this chip out of the mirror, take it to a computer, and see absolutely every video that it's recorded. And if you are in a collision or something like that, it records those into a separate area. So those are a little more easy to discover. Otherwise, they're just time and date stamped. And they get pretty accurate time and date stamp because the GPS is providing the time. So that's one thing. The other thing is the rear view camera in the G900 and G900 Pro. Now, I actually care more about the rear view camera than the front view camera, because if you saw my earlier video on the Wolfbox, the front view camera is a little bit obstructed by the ADAS camera that's built into the windshield. And so the Grenadier camera blocks the Wolfbox camera from seeing forward very well. And so it's only partially useful at best. Now, it's a 4K camera. The camera to the rear, which is the one that I care about, is actually a 2.5K camera. And so sometimes I find that I wish it were the better camera in the setup. And maybe that's their next thing that they'll do, is that they'll pay as much attention to the rear view as they do to the front view. The other thing that I noticed about this mirror that I wish they could do better, and I don't know that this has changed in the other version, is when you put the car in reverse. If you've connected it to your rear reversing tail light, it activates the backup camera and the lines that show you the guidance. And quite frankly, it just puts up a picture of reverse. I'm going to turn the car on and I'm going to show you a picture. So when I put this in reverse, the reverse lights trigger this camera to go into reverse mode, and it puts this grid onto the camera. And I don't find it helpful at all. If you look at my display down below, you can see how it lines up with my lines of my parking space. And if you look at this camera, you'll notice they don't match. It just looks like I'm going to drive over the car next to me. So it's not helpful at all. And I wish that I could go in the settings and just turn that off. The only thing you can do with the reversing camera is to choose a high, medium, or low position for these fixed guidelines. I just wish they have an option to turn it off entirely because I don't find it useful. And the option that I guess when you're installing it is if you don't connect it to your backup light, it won't trigger these to come on when you put your car into reverse. So that's a consideration that you might have when you're having a discussion with your installer or you're installing your Wolfbox mirror. Once you go back into drive, the mirror changes back, and there's some settings that you can choose if you want it to be an expanded view or a narrower view. And basically everything works really well. You can change the view, like if you need to see right down below your car in the back, you can actually adjust it right in real time. And then the other side of the mirror is brightness, so you can make it brighter and less bright. It's almost as if there's a line in the middle of the mirror. And so that's all good. I find that I keep the mirror down pretty dim because it's bright enough at night and it seems to be visible during the day. But I'm going to turn the car back off and we're going to update the firmware, and I'll show you how I do it and we'll see if it goes easily. But first thing to do is go to the mirror, go to settings, and check your firmware version. And that's in the about. You'll notice the software is 11.2404.2, 0, and 3.5. And the version that I'm putting in is the 3.6. So there's a slightly newer version from 2024, and I'm going to put it on my chip. And so basically the way to do that, make sure I'm in park here. It's easier to release the mirror, and right in between the GPS and the power, take out the SD card, and I'll take my SD card that I've put the new software firmware update on, and I'll leave a link in the description to the Wolfbox page where the firmware is, because you can download it. You just download it onto an SD card or a thumb drive. I actually use micro SD cards, and I put it into a holder, and we'll put this in. Okay, it says preparing. Okay, so it saw the firmware and it says, notice, do you want to upgrade now? So I'll say confirm, and we'll let it upgrade. And this just brings my G900 to the latest and greatest that's available for it. And as I said, I've been really happy with it. And the only things are sometimes if it wants to be formatted, you'll be driving or you'll turn the car on and it says I need to format. See, this is my forward-facing camera, and I actually have it, my transponder for this fast track, I just have it in the front because it's easy to put where I can reach it because it has a switch on it. And this is the mirror, the Grenadier mirror, and it's not helpful to me. So I always have it on the rear view camera. And you do that by sliding across. There we go. So that's my rear view camera. I'm going to turn this a little bit more towards me. And again, the mounting system, I want to review. The mounting system I'm using is from 67 Designs. And they make this special plate. I'll turn it so that you can see it. This special plate right here that is specifically designed so that the Grenadier's camera system we could take out your OEM mirror and just have the Wolfbox, and it's a much cleaner installation. It kind of blocks these passenger airbag lights, but quite frankly, I think they're a little bright in my opinion, and so I'm not at all bothered by that. And so this just screws up, but I'll leave a link for the Wolfbox bracket in the video description, because if you're using an installer that doesn't work with Grenadiers, you definitely need this bracket to give to them, and it goes in and out of stock. They make a left-handed drive and a right-handed drive version, and they're really great people. There's a link to the bracket in the description, and I would order that before I order my Wolfbox. And then the Wolfbox itself, the parts that you need are the Wolfbox mirror, and you can get the G900, the G840, or the G900 Pro. You need to get the hardwire kit because you want it to be powered by the Grenadier. And then the 33-foot cable is the length that my installer used, that ran it from the front all the way to the back, and I did my wiring through the door. And I'll leave a link to my original Wolfbox video that has a little more detail about how we installed it. But basically, I bought the parts and then I took it to the installer, and I just said, and I paid him to install it, because that way I knew I was getting all the things that I knew other people had tested and worked in the Grenadier, and felt like that was the best approach, because I put this in probably 4 or 5 months ago and the Grenadier was still really new on the ground. But I can say now, after having it for several months, it's really good, and it was a really worthwhile improvement. I think that INEOS will probably be putting these in Grenadiers in the future as stock equipment, because it just makes seeing out the back perfect. If you have questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'll leave links to all the relevant parts for the Wolfbox in this video. Of course, there are affiliate links. If you buy from the link, I get a commission, but it doesn't change the price. And the links that I have actually can take you either to the Wolfbox site or to the Amazon site. I like to buy things from Amazon because their return policy is pretty flawless, and I know that if I get something and I'm not happy with it, I can just send it back. But you can choose who you buy it from, and just make sure that you get what you want, and then work with an installer that hopefully has worked with Grenadiers before. Mine had done a couple of Grenadiers, and so I knew that that was a place to start. And you might contact your dealer and ask for a reference. You might try and install it yourself. There are a lot of people that do install it themselves. It's not that it's difficult, but you need some fundamental wiring, because you have to tap into the power of in the fuse box and so forth. And I just didn't want to get it wrong, because it's a one-off kind of a experience, and I didn't want to learn all of these things just to do that one-time thing and then have, I just paid somebody to do it. And it's your choice. Let's go into the settings and see if we see anything different. Time-lapse is a great feature, but if you drive every day, you can use it. And the reason that I say that, if you don't drive very often, it drains your battery. And my battery went down to 40% while my car sat here for a couple of weeks that I was out of town. And so you just want to be careful, because this is something that will kind of suck your battery down. So I have it turned off because my car's normally parked in my garage. But if you park around and you want your car to monitor the comings and goings of people up to your Grenadier, you can actually tell it to record for 12 or up to 24 hours after you turn the car off. And so that's a setting. Parking monitoring. Reverse mode, full display, panorama display are your only choices. There's no off. I wish there was an off for the reverse mode. This is for how the mirror looks when you put it in reverse. I'm actually going to do that. So if I put the car in reverse, that's rear mode. And again, doesn't help me. And then this is the panorama mode. It's wide. And that doesn't help me. Okay. But see, it's wide. This is narrow. And I just want to be able to see, but I still use this camera for backing up. It just seems to be more accurate. And when you turn the wheels, the lines actually move and guide you. And I found that it really works well. Once you learn it, because I've never used the backup camera in previous cars that had them. I just didn't trust. I could look over my shoulder and I could see what I was doing. This car, you can't. So I use the cameras and they work really well. But I just use this camera, and then this one just shows me if somebody's coming up at me. So anyway, going back to settings, the about screen is what will show you the software version and the model that you have. The serial number is also what the website suggests you check to see which version of the mirror you have. If you have a newer version of the mirror from 2024, you most likely have this version. that has the 3.5 that you can upgrade to 3.6, because there are older versions. I could not find the serial number on this camera, and I looked behind as it suggested, but I know it probably is on the box that I didn't keep. So I just took a guess that 3.6 was going to supersede 3.5, and I went ahead and put it on. The Wolfbox mirror is still a very good investment. I recommend it. If you plan on installing it yourself, do follow the guidelines of look at several videos, because the one I know that my installer did not take out this panel. I don't think he took it out, and he didn't put the GPS up here, as the person that did the installation video that clipped my videos in it did. So that you just want to do things, you know, there's an instruction guide that tells you how to install it, but it just doesn't tell you how to install it in the Grenadier. And so common sense would say GPS needs to be able to face the open sky, and it also is what collects the time. So have a good time installing your Wolfbox, or having somebody install it for you. I had mine done for me, and I'm very thankful for that. The 67 Designs bracket makes it look as close to OEM as it can be. Of course, yeah, there's a couple little wires up there, but you know what? They're really well hidden. And so I'm very happy with it. But just know that the newer version just does some extra things. And the feature that sticks out, and I'll leave a couple of bits in the description, the G900 versus the G900 Pro. I know that it's got the Wi-Fi capability. It also has one other thing. I think it's boasting a slightly better front view camera. The rear view camera is still the 2.5K. So, you know, look at pricing. I think it's only a $40 or $50 difference, and so it's not a high ticket item, frankly. It's compared to the price of the car, it's not a high ticket item, and the installation shouldn't cost you that much, and I think you'll be really happy. You know, it's a really worthwhile upgrade. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.